what's your definition of a big buck, number one? And number two, can your land even produce what your expectations are?
You know, we talk about inches in whitetail deer and antlers. The most important half inch of deer management is that half inch of the trigger pull.
Whether you own the land or you're hunting by permission, there are certain things you can do to grow and hunt bigger bucks.
Every fall, hunters go to bed each night and they begin to dream. They dream of misty mornings and old weathered deer stands. The feeling when they draw back that beautiful new Matthews bow. But most of all, they dream of Boone and Crockett-sized antlers. And then you know what happens next? They all wake up.
This topic right now today is about growing bigger deer. The first thing that you need to do is, if you're really going to dedicate yourself to hunting big bucks, is you gotta let other bucks walk. You have to let the younger ones walk. That's not the recipe for a lot of people. It's not for me on a lot of properties that I hunt, because I go in there knowing what my expectations should be. And if I'm hunting a 1% chance of a deer that's going to be of a certain size, to me it's just not worth it. But some places it is.
Just don't shoot younger bucks. I had somebody describe to me one time, and I think this is probably the most eloquent. You know, we talk about inches in whitetail deer and antlers. The most important half inch of deer management is that half inch of the trigger pull. Just don't pull the trigger. If we don't shoot them, they're gonna be older the next year. They're gonna have larger antlers.
Number two, which actually should be number one in your priority list, is you have to kill more does. You have to keep that deer density below carrying capacity and below optimal levels for seeing deer, which is also a very difficult pill to swallow, because we like to see deer when we're hunting, but if you want to see big bucks, you cannot have 40, 50, 60, 70 deer per square mile in your general area and expect to grow those monsters and be able to kill them consistently.
You know, I think it's the key to deer management. It's the key to maintaining good social structure, which is based upon sex ratio. It's the key to putting meat in the freezer without putting undue pressure on the bucks in your herd. It's also the key to maintaining, you know, good nutrition in your herd. But doe management and doe harvest is for many people the overlooked component of growing large antlers.
So let's stay on that nutrition topic for a moment, and let's really dissect what a deer needs. Small, tiny little kill plot, food plots, that's not going to cut it for nutrition. Land of Whitetail is brought to you by
Over the years, hunters' hunger for bigger antlers has grown to an insatiable amount. There is a lot left to learn about what we can do to help whitetails grow bigger antlers. But one thing we know for sure is that nutrition plays a critical role as the building blocks of antler material. Therefore, its importance should never be overlooked.
When it comes to growing big bucks, when you're talking about nutrition, small, tiny little kill plot, food plots, that's not going to cut it for nutrition. Just because you put a lot of time and effort into that food plot doesn't mean you're going to provide all sorts of food with them. It might be fantastic for September, October, November, December hunting prospects, but as far as that year-round nutritional program, you have to think in sheer tonnage. And when you're providing sheer tonnage, that's going to require, a lot of cases, 10, 15, 20% of the land that you're hunting just dedicated to growing food plots.
With food plots, we tend to focus on our hunting food plots or our cool season food plots. We lose sight of our growing season food plots or warm season food plots. There's a lot of people out there that have a food plot program that does not include a growing season food plot. That's not a food plot program, that's a hunting plot program. You need to get food plots in the ground during the summer if you're serious about deer management and serious about maximizing nutritional quality.
food plots are great, but we need to think in terms of mineral, if you can do it where you live, and you got to think in terms of supplemental feeding, if you can do that where you live.
Supplemental feed is a very simple way to significantly increase the amount of food available for a herd and increase the amount of protein available for a herd, and protein being the key component to any productive process in deer. Antler production, fawn production, milk production, those sorts of things. So anything you can do from a supplemental feed perspective is extremely important as well. The problem with supplemental feed is it's significantly more expensive per ton of production than food plots. There also are growing concerns with regards to disease transmission. Depending upon the part of the country that you're in, chronic wasting disease, tuberculosis are two diseases that are density-dependent diseases that can be easily transmitted when you get animals in greater concentrations, and normally those feeding sites where we're supplementally feeding bring a lot of animals nose to nose, unfortunately. Although there are ways to be safe and potentially do it.
If you cannot provide legally mineral and or supplemental food, then you need to think about how you're going to supplement the food, not only with food plots, but with also good, proper forestry management.
That can either be habitat enhancement, normally consisting of trying to get sunlight to the ground, timber harvest, prescribed fire, disking, mowing, all of those things to try and get food growing between 0 and 6 feet. Most of the landscapes that we hunt in are mature forests. We're not getting sunlight on the ground. Anything that we can do to get sunlight on the ground is going to significantly enhance the amount of food available and improve the condition of the herd, which is going to translate into larger antlers.
A buck's most critical time is going to be winter and early spring. That's when the minerals are going to be going toward antler growth, the start of it anyways, and he has to be in optimum shape coming out of winter if you expect him to maintain or reach maximum growth potential that year. So if we're getting those deer to those older age classes, again, 3, 4, 5 years old and older, if they come out of winter in really good shape, that's gonna allow them a good kickstart. Then you're gonna get to summer where they're really gonna be able to pack on the weight, both skeletally and then manifest that in their antlers. By the time they get to fall, they're gonna be optimal shape and you're gonna see those antlers in their peak condition. So a really good example of growing and hunting bigger deer, obviously our own Steve Bartilla. Steve has this down to a science. He does it across the country. He does it on the most optimal properties that are in North America. Babe.
Dan Schmidt hunts with Steve Bartilla every year in Brown County, Illinois. Steve works tirelessly throughout the year to ensure that he is doing everything he can for the landowner to produce the largest antlers possible. For Dan, this means a yearly hit list of bucks that have matured and reached their potential and need to be taken out of the herd.
Steve's methods are simple and complicated at the same time. Simple in the fact that he provides the nutrition, he keeps the deer population to an acceptable level that's below maximum carrying capacity, and then he keeps the pressure off of those deer and allows them to basically beef up. When this all comes together in the perfect recipe is that you're gonna have deer hit maturity, 3, 4, 5 years old, then you're gonna be able to understand what is reality on that property. On that property in particular, what Steve has is it produces an enormous amount of 8 points. That's in the genetic. Love those deer, but at the same time, they know that a certain percentage of this deer population are gonna be much, much bigger. I mean, we're talking Boone and Crockett class. So the nice side benefit there for me is I get to hunt what we call management bucks. a big, beautiful buck came out, and we got to watch him quite a while. It's early afternoon. We had barely been in the blind. He comes out, he feeds in front of us. Now, I tell you what, if I'd have been anywhere else, if I'd have been at home, that is a top-end deer where I'm hunting at home. Here, big, beautiful deer, more potential. He was young, and that's the rules that I have to abide by when hunting this property, is let those younger ones walk, especially the ones that are not manifesting bigger potential. Not a big deal because I understand it and I knew there were more deer there, but man, that was really fun to watch not only this deer come out, but watch him behave in the way that a deer's gonna do in an unpressured environment. There was a storm front coming in and we knew that. So we knew that if this was gonna happen on this particular sit, it was gonna have to happen relatively fast. I'm about ready to pack up, and that's when it happened. That's normally how it happens, isn't it? Here comes this beautiful buck out of the woods. He meets the description. He's a big 8. He's got just a tiny start of another point, but he's not gonna be much bigger than that. I knew that not only was this a deer that I could take, but this is the one that was gonna get my heart racing very quickly. Man! Man!
Okay, I think we just got him. He went down right there. I heard him crash. I'm shaking hard. This happened right at the last second. He's a really good 8-pointer. We waited all day in the rain, and I tell you what, my heart's hammering.
Okay, this didn't happen textbook like it does on TV. This is real life. It started raining, and all my years in gun hunting, if it starts raining and you got a good shot, take it, but make sure you get on that blood trail immediately. That's why I got out of the blind really quickly. I already found him. He's laying there dead. It's raining, and God has blessed us with a really good day here in Illinois. Just a beautiful buck. Beautiful, beautiful Illinois buck. Never been so blessed to spend a day in the woods.
Well, folks, you've heard it here before, and you'll hear it here again. The final way to grow bigger bucks is to adjust your expectations to the area that you are hunting. A trophy is and always should be in the eye of the bow holder. And for those that think they'll grow that 200-inch deer consistently on 40, 80, or even 500 acres, well, Steven Tyler said it best. Dream on.
Shooting at the gun range can bring a lot of good memories, but maybe some not so good memories. One memory that I have is from when I was in my early 20s, and we were sighting in our rifles, and a friend of mine said, hey, put some earmuffs on while you're shooting your rifle. And he said, well, I don't use earmuffs when I'm in the deer woods. Why would I use them when I'm sitting at the gun range? Well, needless to say, after he shot, he said, boy, my ears are ringing. Well, that ringing is hearing loss. And we know today that you can't do enough to protect your hearing, especially in a situation, in an environment where you're shooting rifles, loud rifles. Let me give you a little bit of perspective. Hearing loss, permanent hearing loss, can happen at anything above 85 decibels. That's considered safe hearing noise when you're working with loud machinery, shooting guns, things like that. Well, guns can produce 140 to 165 decibels with one gunshot. Permanent hearing loss if you're not being careful. The best hearing protection you can use are the custom molded plugs. They're very, very effective at canceling noises, but they're also kind of cumbersome because you got to make sure you take them out so you can hear people talking, and it's not really conducive when you're shooting at the gun range. Hearing muffs, very popular. I love them. They work very, very well, but you have to get yourself a quality pair of muffs. Some muffs only cancel up to 15 decibels. That's not much when you're looking at 140, 165 decibel gunshot. Other quality ones are pushing 30 decibels. This pair here I have is 26 decibels canceling. It really helps when I'm shooting at the range, multiple shots trying to sight in a deer rifle, and especially these newer muffs, like this power muff, they also have noise amplification that I can use, and I can hear people talking to me. And you would think, well, why would you want something amplifying the noise in your ear if you're shooting a gun? Well, the technology here cancels it out, so it's not going to amplify it past those levels of the reduction. So every time you're shooting, especially at the gun range, even when you're in a hunting situation and you can help it, protect your ears. They'll thank you later.
Sig Sauer's BDX system, well, the binocular rangefinder, the Kilo 3000, pairs up with the Sierra 3 BDX rifle scope. And when you zap a range with your range-finding binocular, it can change the reticle automatically in the rifle scope. So that illuminated dot, if you zap 395, it changes right within the rifle scope to 395, and you got exact ranging. But what happens if you're in a situation where, you know, things are just fast and furious, like whitetail hunting in brush country, like right here where we're at? Well, they also have another way, and you can set up that reticle with illuminated dots that go from 1 to 800. So there's 8 lighted or illuminated dots in that reticle system. And what you do is you use their BDX app on your smartphone. Put in your caliber, your load, bullet weight, all that, and it computes it and aligns those 8 dots perfectly. 100 out to 800. So if something happens fast, say a whitetail darts through an opening, and you know that range is 250 yards, you just place the deer between the 2nd and 3rd dot, the illuminated dots, boom, fast action. You don't even have to lift up your rangefinder. So you have 2 different ways to set up this one rifle scope for any hunting situation.